Top of the morning folks, today from the Reddit Rainforest. What is the weirdest way you have ever met a boyfriend/girlfriend? I got kidnapped by friends, wrapped in a gift box, and given to someone I did not know as a Christmas present. I was getting ready to leave the house I was renting in Morgantown, WV. Big college town full of college kids. If you are unfamiliar, my neighbors were 4 20-year-old potheads that I had run into a few times. They were good people. One of them had recently lost his father and was pretty torn up about it. So the other 3 threw a huge party to try and cheer him up. Some assholes broke a bunch of malarkey in the house, and when the landlord found out they were all evicted, I felt terrible that, right after he lost his dad, this guy was getting evicted. So I had them all move into my house and had the lease signed over to them. One day about a week before I left, the other guys were talking about the guy who lost his dad having his sister come visit. They were talking about how cute she is, and jokingly, I told them all that she would be all over me in a matter of minutes. To make a long story short, we both fell for each other. I left but she came to visit, and we got married in 2009. To sum it up, let a guy move into my house after he had a rough deal in life. His sister came to visit, and now she is my beautiful wife. www.nearpits.com, no joke. This is one of my all-time favorite life stories. I was 17 at a soccer game at a park in my hometown, and it got rained out. It was very heavy rain. Everyone was leaving with rides or cars and I did not have one, so I ran under one of those shelters at bigger public parks. She was standing under it too, calling for a ride. I was 17. She was 19. We ended up talking, laughing, and goofing off. I started to kind of show off and go out in the rain, and then I noticed a football. I picked it up and said, "Betcha cannot tackle me." And what do you know? She jumps off the wooden picnic table and chases me all over this muddy soccer field. We then fall into a particularly wet and muddy puddle forming in the field. Instead of getting up, we ended up full on muddle wrestling, fully clothed, soaked in mud, like body slams, tackling, grappling, all in good fun of course. So then, my friend with a truck was the first one there to get either of us, so she came with us. We went to a Dairy Queen, pulled out a hose we saw attached to the side of the building, and hosed each other off right there in the parking lot as concerned adults were like ... the duck. To this day, several girlfriends later, she is still the most beautiful, funny and free-spirited person I have ever met. Saw her walking into a bathroom. She was absolutely stunning. So without thinking, I asked a girl who was walking into the bathroom to get her to come out so I could talk to her. Definitely weird, but we were able to laugh about it. In high school, my girlfriend at the time called me from a phone she found in the girls' bathroom. She texted me all day using it. It was a Metro PCS phone and had a free plan anyway. Later that day, the person who lost it got a new phone and their number transferred, so I was texting a complete stranger. I quickly realized it, but we became pretty good friends. After my girlfriend cheated on me, I started dating the girl who I met through the lost phone. Had a crush on a girl freshman year who would always pass. She was in my dorm. And check out, she seemed like she might have either been really shy or shared mutual feelings, as she would look away and sometimes smile every time I would look at her. One night after this had gone on for a month or so, and I had already begun making plans to find out who this girl was, I was playing some video game alone in my room. Might have been Demon Souls like a boss, and I hear someone come in and plop themselves on my bed. It was this girl, my crush, who had apparently drank a bit to get up the courage to come in my room and start talking to me. We ended up going out together that night with immediate chemistry, hooking up, and starting one of the longest, most complicated relationships I have ever had. Dunno if that's exactly weird, but I'm fond of the story. It all started with a poke. I found it amusing that you could poke someone that you are not friends with on Facebook. So I decided to have some fun and creep out some people I have never met before. One person I poked happened to be a girl that my friend goes to school with. After she realized that she had no clue who I was, she messaged me and I told her that I saw her on my friend's Facebook and I just wanted to creep someone out. A few years later, it turns out we have a ton in common, and she's the greatest thing that has happened in my life so far. A bit of prehistory needed here. I'm male crossdresser. However, due to, simply put, weird hormones, I have breasts. I'm also rather fey. This seems to be a trait of skinny bone structure in general in my mother's side of the family. So it's not really a problem. My breasts are not big ones, so they are pretty much no problem to hide. People ask me if I'm a hermaphrodite. No, I'm not. I have male genitalia and I consider myself male. I'm told I have a rather androgynous voice. I just have breasts. I'm also gay. So about 2006, one of my friends is a costume designer and is throwing a costume party. Due to losing a long series of bets, I was dressed as a Georgian noblewoman with corset, wig, fan and accompanying cleavage. At one point I was standing in front of a ceiling to floor mirror during the party and checking myself. Read. Boobs out. I have to admit I totally would had sex with myself. I was looking that good and I did not even find females sexually attractive at that point. So I'm pretty much gliding around the party, flirting indiscriminately and generally being a smocking hot mama. And there he came in. One of the host's friend dressed as a hussar and looking like adamant, but sexier. We got talking and a few drinks later we were back at his place making out when I got my hands under his shirt. My thoughts at the time were something along the lines of nice pecs WTF boobies. Yes, as it turned out my date was in fact female. Rather under the impression I was a woman. Fair enough really, under the circumstances. And a lesbian. Or so I thought. Which led to the rather embarrassing conversation of having to explain that I thought she was a man and gay. She insisted she was not a lesbian and well was a man and did not need to slice off her own breasts and grow a dick to be one. She was a man and attracted to men, and if I would care to step into the bedroom she would damn well show me. What ensued was quite possibly the best sex I have ever had. Due to my girlfriend's gender quibbles she oscillates on which pronouns she uses and is currently happy to use female ones. We got engaged last summer and recently welcomed our first child. I responded in desperately onto a series of ridiculous Craigslist ads for a new roommate, seeking alpha male, twins, etc. for the house of fine gentlemen. I did not know what to expect, but I went to meet the future housemates. Apparently, the ads were made to be ridiculous in order to attract a housemate with a similar sense of humor. Immediately, I felt this fiery and reciprocal connection with the guy who answered the door. I filled out a sort of questionnaire which was full of talking points. We had a drink, did the house tour and talked with the other housemate and another candidate for like 2 hours. The place was great, totally affordable, and across the street from my school/work. They picked me and I moved in 2 weeks later. The crush and I stayed in touch to arrange the moving day, and when I moved in, I was freaking out a bit because I realized that the crush was only getting worse. I wondered if I had made a huge mistake. Luckily, he worked 16-hour days every day and was not around too much in the evenings. I thought this would make the situation bearable, but I felt really bad for him. He was always exhausted. And since I was studying Marxist theory at the time, in one of our conversations on moving day I recommended he check out a bit of Capital or the Communist Manifesto. The next day, the second day of my living there, he came home from work at 5 p.m. I saw him sitting on the couch looking like he really needed to talk. Turns out that he listened to Marx on audiobook at work, got overwhelmed, realized that he was horribly overworked, and made the decision to leave early that day. On the third day, he kissed me. We have since moved out together and are engaged, with a child on the way. He's home by 6 most nights. I studied abroad in Morocco and met a beautiful Arab woman in the hotel I was staying at. She was reading the paper in the lounge, and if I was in the US I would have approached her, but being sensitive to the culture, I did not. The next day, I found out she was the cultural director/Arabic professor of my study abroad program. We would talk on trips and in the classroom, flirt harmlessly, etc. After about a month, she quit her job to work at another program. Long story short, a week after she quit her job she started coming onto me. We had sex about a week after that, and dated for a couple months. My 18-year-old curious French cousin came to visit me in Japan 5 or so years ago. I was the only one knowing. We were really close, even from a continent away, and I knew she'd had no chance to experiment with girls yet, what with living in the sticks and all. So with her agreement I looked on Mixi, the local FB, for a girl who'd be interested in meeting her when she came to Japan, and I soon found a nice college student who was really game. I made them meet, was their interpreter during the days they were together, and great fun was had by all during the whole process. They slept together. The Japanese chick loved it. My cousin realized that she was straight after all. Anyway, after she went back to France, I met the Japanese girl again, and of course we dated too. She was completely crazy, and not only in fun ways, though there were some interesting sides too, and it did not last long, but still it's a fond memory. My cousin was deeply amused by the whole situation. BTW. At a college house party we were having, My last name is Stone. Her last name is Flynn. Her. How much for a cup? Me. $5. Her. But I'm a girl. Me. $7. Her. You know, if we got married we could be the Flintstones. Me. You do realize it's the Flintstones, right? Her. Well, yay. Duh. It was a joke. And since I'm so funny, how much for a cup? Me. $10. 5 years later, we are happily married. Was drunk at a friend's New Year's party. His sister-in-law was there, but I was too drunk to care how I acted. I was filthy, disgusting, and an overall drunken mess. That night I slept in a side room that she was in too. I farted, not giving a malarkey. Then out of nowhere, she says that's it, and farts louder than me. We spent the next hour farting and laughing. We started dating a week later. To sum it up, I had an 8-month relationship that started with a drunken fart contest. Bunch of years ago, I was 16 and was attending a rather larger party in an industrial complex. Friend of mine hooked me up with this girl I have never met before, and due part alcohol and hormones we started making out quite quickly. Being one of my first makeouts I was quite ecstatic, which could explain why I did not react to that feeling in my stomach. Yeah, I puked on her and in her mouth. We were kissing, remember? As most people would do, I profoundly apologized, helped her clean up a little, and then walked away mortified and thinking, well, first girl who kisses me and I puke in her Immerata. I tried to party on, but felt bad so went home. 2 days later she calls me up and wonders if I wanted to hang out. She had asked around and gotten my phone number from the same friend who introduced us. We hooked up and was a couple for a couple of weeks until I noticed she was a tad weird. I guess the whole puke in mouth thing should have tipped me of but whatever. All in all, it's nice for a 16-year-old insecure boy to get a girl, even for a few weeks. I was on my last jump of the season, 17th overall. I'm addicted to skydiving. I should have choose cigarettes. It would have been cheaper. It was her first solo jump. After only a few seconds I can tell she is having some issues, so I try to slow down so she can catch up with me. I cannot find her cord, so we grab onto each other as tight as we can, and I pull my cord. I know the automatic altitude triggered chute probably would have fired, but who knows. After the incident I made her buy me lunch for potentially saving her life. At least this is what I tell my 79-year-old grandmother who will not understand that we actually met on Match.com. Unfortunately that is all there is for this video, but do not worry, there are many more coming. Like and subscribe for more videos from the Reddit Rainforest. Thanks for watching.